Joining me is Dr. Malcolm Jansen from Vets on Carlton and Wanganui. First of all, how long have you been a vet for?
Well, I graduated from Massey in 1970, so that makes about 51 years.
So a little while now. What made you get into it?
Well, I was born on a dairy farm in the Bay of Plenty. It was pretty remote and isolated in those days. I was good at school. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was watching the local vet post-mortem a calf on a neighbour's property one day, and the neighbour said, "Well, what are you going to do with yourself?" I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, why don't you become a vet? We need more." So I did.
And you've established a bit of a niche in greyhound racing. What made you decide to go down this path?
Well, for the first 25 years I was in practice, I did a lot of horse work. I did a lot of stud and stable work, but as that declined, greyhound sort of came on the scene in the early 1980s, and the local club actually sent me to a clinic in Australia at Sandown in Melbourne, which specialised in greyhounds, because they said, "We need somebody who knows something about greyhounds." So I spent a week there, and I learnt more in a week than I could ever have learnt, in a decade just struggling on my own.
That's fantastic, and quite often you're seen at the races acting as the vet on course on race days. What does a typical night involve for you at the races?
Well, every dog gets a pre-race check. I call it the 45-second complete and thorough examination, but it enables us to check all the major structures in the body just to make sure that the trainer hasn't missed something between race days. Then between races, sometimes the stipes will order a dog to be examined. It may not have run well, or it may have been interfered with, or something may have happened in the race. They think it needs to be checked. This is a much more detailed exam. It can take anything from 5 to 10 minutes, where we go over, again, every structure, muscle, bone, joint, tendon, far more thoroughly and intimately to pick up all those minor niggles that sometimes occur with racing.
Fantastic. And look, even when you're not working at the races, sometimes you're just here to enjoy it because you also own a few greyhounds. What's the ownership experience like for you?
Like most owners, up and down. We have our good days and our bad days. I mean, we've got a litter racing now that it's actually doing quite well. The three of them are racing tonight. One's got to class 5, there's one in class 3, and one is struggling in class 2, which is pretty much par for the course, I think, for most litters.
Look, you've been in the game for a while now. What is it that keeps you in it? What is it that you love about greyhounds?
Well, I really enjoy the sports medicine side of it, so examining dogs, picking up their injuries, figuring out a way of treating them. I mean, most of them are pretty simple. They just need ultrasound or laser or even massage, but sometimes they need surgery or something like that. And again, a lot of the surgical things are quite special to greyhounds, so it makes life interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.